Have you ever paid for a cup of coffee, received a handful of change, and tossed a penny aside without a second thought? What if one of those ordinary-looking pennies could be worth more than a luxury mansion, a private jet, or even enough to completely transform your financial future? It sounds unbelievable. Yet history has repeatedly shown that overlooked coins have shocked collectors with astonishing auction prices. Today, we're uncovering one of the most fascinating modern Lincoln cents ever discussed by collectors. The 1988 Lincoln 1 cent with no mint mark. Before you assume every 1988 penny is valuable, stay with me, because one tiny detail could mean the difference between 1 cent and a life-changing discovery. At first glance, the 1988 Lincoln cent looks almost identical to millions of other pennies still circulating across America. Abraham Lincoln's familiar portrait appears on the front, while the Lincoln Memorial stands proudly on the reverse. Nothing seems extraordinary. That's exactly why so many valuable examples continue slipping through people's fingers every single day. In 1988, billions of Lincoln cents were produced. Philadelphia struck its coins without a mint mark, while Denver coins carried the familiar D. Most Philadelphia examples remain common and spend their lives moving from cash registers to piggy banks, eventually disappearing into jars sitting forgotten on kitchen shelves. But every great treasure begins with something ordinary. Collectors know that the real excitement rarely comes from normal production coins. Instead, it comes from unexpected minting mistakes, die varieties, and exceptionally preserved examples that somehow escaped decades of wear. These are the coins capable of rewriting price guides and astonishing the numismatic community. Now here's where the story becomes incredibly interesting. Several specialists have spent years studying subtle differences among 1988 Lincoln cents. Tiny design variations, doubled features, transitional dies, and other unusual characteristics have become the focus of intense examination. Most people would never notice them without magnification, yet experienced collectors search relentlessly because they understand that microscopic details can produce extraordinary value. Imagine discovering that a penny sitting in your coin jar possesses a rare die variety that only a handful of collectors have identified. Suddenly, that insignificant coin isn't pocket change anymore. It's a conversation piece, it's history, and perhaps it's a financial opportunity. Before we go any further, ask yourself one question. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies instead of spending them? That's exactly what separates successful treasure hunters from everyone else. Many legendary coin discoveries happened because someone slowed down long enough to inspect an ordinary coin under proper lighting. There was no secret map, no metal detector, just patience and curiosity. Now let's talk about condition. Even the rarest variety loses much of its appeal if it's heavily worn. Collectors pay enormous premiums for coins showing blazing original luster, razor-sharp details, and virtually no evidence of circulation. These pristine examples are incredibly difficult to find because most coins enter commerce immediately after leaving the mint. Think about it. A coin made in 1988 has spent decades traveling through vending machines, grocery stores, gas stations, and countless pockets. Surviving in flawless condition is remarkably uncommon. That's why professional grading becomes so important. Independent grading companies carefully examine every surface, every scratch, every mark, assigning numerical grades that dramatically influence market value. A single point difference on the grading scale can sometimes mean thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now here's something that surprises many people. Rumors often circulate online claiming certain 1988 no-mint mark pennies are worth millions overnight. The truth is more complicated. Extraordinary prices are generally connected to exceptionally rare varieties, significant mint errors, or elite condition coins certified by respected grading services. Not every 1988 penny qualifies. But don't lose interest just yet. The excitement comes from knowing that remarkable discoveries continue happening. Every year, collectors uncover overlooked varieties hidden inside inherited collections, estate sales, forgotten bank rolls, and dusty jars stored in closets for decades. What if yours is next? Imagine opening an old coffee can filled with pennies inherited from a grandparent. You begin sorting them out of simple curiosity. Halfway through, one coin catches your eye. The surfaces appear unusually sharp. The color looks vibrant. Under magnification, subtle details seem different from the others. Your heartbeat accelerates. Could this really be something special? Moments like these fuel America's fascination with coin collecting. Unlike lottery tickets, rare coins actually exist in circulation and private collections. They have been discovered in cash drawers, bank rolls, inherited albums, and even forgotten dresser drawers. That possibility keeps collectors searching year after year. Here's something else worth remembering. Cleaning a coin almost always reduces its value. It may seem logical to polish away dirt or dark toning, but collectors prize originality. A clean surface often leaves microscopic scratches that permanently damage desirability. In other words, sometimes doing absolutely nothing is the smartest decision. If you believe you've discovered an unusual 1988 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent, handle it carefully by the edges, store it in a protective holder, and consider professional evaluation before making assumptions. Now let's return to the astonishing headline that captured everyone's attention. Stories continue circulating about examples associated with values approaching $776,000. Such extraordinary figures represent exceptional circumstances involving elite quality coins or highly sought-after collectible characteristics rather than ordinary circulated cents. Nevertheless, these remarkable sales remind collectors of one powerful lesson. Never underestimate small things. History repeatedly proves that objects once dismissed as worthless eventually become prized collectibles. Baseball cards, vintage toys, comic books, classic automobiles. Rare coins follow the very same pattern. And pennies may be the greatest example of all because nearly everyone has owned them. Funny, isn't it? People happily bend over to pick up a dollar bill, but they'll walk right past a penny without giving it a glance. Somewhere, someone may have unknowingly stepped over a tiny copper-colored fortune simply because it looked too ordinary. That thought alone is enough to make anyone check their pocket change a little more carefully. As the search continues, remember that knowledge remains your greatest advantage. Learn the dates. Study known varieties. Compare details carefully. Invest in a quality magnifying glass. Patience consistently rewards informed collectors far more often than blind luck. The next remarkable discovery won't necessarily happen inside an expensive collection owned by a millionaire. It could appear inside a forgotten piggy bank, an inherited coin jar, or the handful of change sitting in your car's cup holder right now. That's the enduring magic of the 1988 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent. It reminds us that extraordinary opportunities often hide beneath ordinary appearances. While millions of pennies continue circulating unnoticed, a select few possess characteristics capable of attracting tremendous collector interest and potentially extraordinary market values. So before you spend another penny without looking, pause for just a moment. Examine the date. Study the surfaces. Look for unusual details. Because the coin everyone else ignores today could become tomorrow's unforgettable discovery. Sometimes history isn't locked away inside museums. Sometimes it fits comfortably in the palm of your hand, weighs only a few grams, and waits patiently for the right person to recognize its true significance before it changes a life forever. Have you checked the pennies hiding in your pocket lately? Most people toss a 1989 Lincoln cent into a jar without a second thought. It looks ordinary. It spends like any other penny. But what if one of those forgotten coins was worth more than a luxury mansion, more than a fleet of sports cars, or even enough to completely change your financial future? Believe it or not, a handful of extraordinary 1989 Lincoln cents have stunned collectors with astonishing values, and under the right circumstances, a single coin connected to this year has reached prices approaching $789,000. The question is not whether every 1989 penny is valuable. The real question is whether yours could be one of the rare exceptions that collectors compete to own. That possibility is exactly why experienced collectors never ignore a penny simply because it looks common. History has proven that incredible treasures often hide in plain sight. Millions of Americans have unknowingly spent rare coins because they never learned what to look for. Imagine discovering years later that the penny you used to buy a cup of coffee could have paid off your mortgage instead. That thought alone is enough to make anyone pause before emptying the change from their wallet. The 1989 Lincoln cent without a mint mark was struck in Philadelphia. During that year, hundreds of millions were produced, making the coin appear anything but rare. Yet collectors understand that rarity is not created by low production alone. It is created by perfection, unusual errors, unexpected varieties, and extraordinary preservation. Those are the qualities that separate an ordinary 1-cent coin from one that could become the centerpiece of an elite collection. Before you run to your coin jar expecting instant riches, remember something important. Most 1989 pennies are worth only face value or a few cents. But the tiny percentage that escaped the mint with unusual characteristics or survived in pristine condition are the ones attracting serious attention. Sometimes the difference between 1 cent and hundreds of thousands of dollars is almost invisible to the untrained eye. Think about that for a moment. 2 pennies can look nearly identical, yet one buys a piece of bubble gum while the other becomes the star of a major auction. If that sounds unbelievable, welcome to the fascinating world of numismatics. Now here's where things become even more interesting. The first thing collectors examine is the overall condition. Coins are graded on a detailed scale, and tiny differences in surface quality can dramatically affect value. A brilliant uncirculated example with flawless luster is far more desirable than one that spent decades bouncing around in pockets and cash registers. High-grade coins certified by professional grading services consistently bring the strongest prices because collectors trust their authenticity and condition. But condition alone is only part of the story. The real excitement begins when experts discover striking errors. During the minting process, thousands of things must happen perfectly. Occasionally they do not. A slight mechanical mistake, a damaged die, or an unexpected production problem can create a coin unlike millions of others. These accidents are exactly what advanced collectors dream about finding. Look carefully for dramatic off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, die breaks, and significant doubled features. While many minor imperfections have little premium, bold and easily visible mint errors can transform a common coin into an object of intense demand. Here's a funny thought. Somewhere in America, someone is probably using a genuinely collectible penny to keep a wobbly table from rocking. It sounds ridiculous, but stranger things have happened in the coin collecting world. Now don't stop listening, because the next detail surprises many beginners. The metal composition matters too. The 1989 Lincoln cent was struck primarily from copper-plated zinc. If you encounter a coin with unusual weight, strange color, or characteristics that don't match normal specifications, it deserves closer examination. A simple digital scale costing only a few dollars could reveal something unexpected. Sometimes an incorrect planchet or unusual composition becomes one of the defining reasons collectors pursue a specific coin. Another important clue involves the coin's surfaces. Original mint red color is highly prized. Over decades, many copper-plated cents naturally darken or develop brown tones. A blazing red example preserved exactly as it left the mint is much scarcer than most people realize. That vibrant appearance often commands substantial premiums, especially in elite grades. Now imagine opening an old family piggy bank that hasn't been touched since the early 1990s. Every coin inside has been protected from circulation for decades. Suddenly those ordinary-looking pennies become far more interesting. Stories exactly like that continue to inspire collectors across the country. Here's something else many people overlook. Professional authentication can make an enormous difference. Even experienced collectors submit exceptional finds to respected grading companies. Certification confirms authenticity, assigns a numerical grade, and protects the coin inside a secure holder. Buyers are generally willing to pay much stronger prices for certified examples because uncertainty has been removed from the equation. Of course, headlines about million-dollar coins often create unrealistic expectations. Not every valuable 1989 Lincoln cent sells for extraordinary amounts. The highest prices usually involve a remarkable combination of elite preservation, exceptional eye appeal, significant rarity, and intense competition among advanced collectors. Auction excitement can sometimes push truly outstanding examples far beyond previous expectations. And that brings us to an important lesson. Never clean an old coin. It sounds harmless. After all, shiny must be better, right? Actually, cleaning usually destroys collectible value. The tiny surfaces that collectors want preserved are easily damaged by polishing, rubbing, or chemical treatments. A naturally aged coin is almost always more desirable than one that has been artificially brightened. Ironically, trying to improve a valuable penny can instantly reduce what someone is willing to pay. By now, you're probably wondering whether that forgotten jar of pennies deserves another look. The answer is absolutely yes. Search carefully under good lighting. Examine every 1989 Lincoln cent without a mint mark. Look for strong strike quality, original luster, unusual errors, and exceptional preservation. Compare suspicious examples with normal coins. If something appears noticeably different, resist the temptation to dismiss it. Research it, weigh it, magnify it. If necessary, have it evaluated by a knowledgeable professional. Because history keeps repeating itself. Remarkable discoveries continue to emerge from old collections, dresser drawers, inherited boxes, and forgotten coffee cans sitting quietly on garage shelves. Every one of those discoveries began with someone taking a second look at what everyone else ignored. Perhaps your next great financial opportunity isn't hiding in the stock market or waiting to arrive through a lottery ticket. Perhaps it's already sitting inside a jar of loose change you've walked past 1,000 times without noticing. That ordinary little 1989 Lincoln penny may never be worth a fortune. But if yours happens to possess the rare qualities collectors spend years searching for, it could become one of the most exciting discoveries of your lifetime. And until you examine every single one carefully, you'll never know whether you've been carrying an extraordinary piece of American coin history in your pocket all along. Have you ever tossed a 1991 Lincoln penny into a jar without giving it a second thought? What if one of those ordinary-looking cents was hiding a story that collectors would pay extraordinary money to own? Before you spend another penny, stay with me, because one tiny detail could make the difference between pocket change and a life-changing discovery. And the most surprising part is coming later, because one version of this coin has left even experienced collectors speechless. Every year, millions of Americans empty their pockets, feed vending machines, and cash in jars filled with forgotten pennies. Most of those coins are worth exactly 1 cent. But history has a funny way of hiding treasures in plain sight. Sometimes it is not gold or silver that captures headlines. Sometimes it is a humble copper-colored coin that has quietly waited decades for someone to notice its secrets. The 1991 Lincoln cent without a mint mark is one of those coins that deserves a closer look. At first glance, it seems completely ordinary. It features Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, just like countless pennies produced during that era. Since it carries no mint mark, it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, where coins traditionally did not display a mint mark for circulation during that period. Now here comes the question that changes everything. If millions were made, why would anyone pay serious money for one? The answer lies in something collectors have understood for generations. Rarity is not always about low production numbers. It is often about survival, condition, and unusual minting mistakes that escaped quality control. Those unexpected combinations transform an everyday coin into something remarkable. Imagine opening an old coffee can that has been sitting in your garage since the early 1990s. Inside are hundreds of pennies collected from grocery store change, birthday cards, and forgotten piggy banks. Most people would see spare change. A collector sees possibilities. That difference in perspective has created incredible discoveries before. But don't celebrate just yet, because the next detail matters even more. A standard circulated 1991 Lincoln cent without a mint mark is usually worth only face value or perhaps a small premium in excellent condition. However, exceptional examples graded at the highest levels by professional grading services have brought astonishing prices because nearly perfect coins are incredibly difficult to find after decades in circulation. Then there are mint errors. Collectors constantly search for dramatic off-center strikes, broad strikes, double dies, die cracks, clipped planchets, and other unusual production mistakes. These errors are genuine accidents from the minting process, and the more dramatic and authentic they are, the more attention they often receive. Think about it. The United States Mint was producing billions of coins every year. Even with advanced equipment, tiny mistakes occasionally slipped through. Those mistakes were never supposed to leave the mint. Yet some did, and today they are prized because they represent a fascinating moment in manufacturing history. Here's something funny. Most people inspect avocados more carefully than they inspect pennies. Yet one could cost you lunch while the other could become the highlight of your collection. That is exactly why experienced collectors recommend slowing down before spending older coins. Now let's talk about condition, because this is where many fortunes disappear before they ever begin. A coin that looks shiny is not necessarily valuable. In fact, cleaning a coin can permanently reduce its collectible value. It may seem logical to polish away dirt and fingerprints, but collectors generally prefer original surfaces. A cleaned coin often loses the natural appearance that experts want to see. That means the smartest thing you can do after finding a promising 1991 penny is absolutely nothing. Leave it exactly as it is. Store it safely. Handle it only by the edges. Then have it examined if it appears unusual or exceptionally well preserved. Now here's where the story becomes even more exciting. Every few years, headlines appear about coins selling for astonishing sums at major auctions. These sales almost always involve extraordinary combinations of rarity, exceptional preservation, historical importance, or significant mint errors. They remind collectors that remarkable discoveries are still possible decades after a coin entered circulation. Some online stories claim that a 1991 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny could be worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. Those claims deserve careful scrutiny. Extraordinary prices require extraordinary evidence. Only a genuinely rare example, such as an exceptional error or an elite condition coin verified by professional authentication and grading, would ever be considered for values approaching headline-making levels. That is why authentication matters so much. And this brings us to the moment that separates dreamers from successful collectors. Knowledge. The people who make exciting discoveries are usually not the luckiest people. They are the people who looked. They learned. They compared details. They refused to assume every penny was ordinary. Imagine discovering an unusual doubling on the lettering, an unexpected strike error, or an amazingly preserved coin that somehow escaped decades of wear. Suddenly, that forgotten cent becomes a conversation piece, then an object of research, and perhaps even something worthy of professional evaluation. Even if it never reaches a record-breaking auction, the thrill of uncovering something genuinely scarce is unforgettable. So the next time you receive change from a grocery store, don't rush to toss those pennies into a drawer. Spend a few quiet moments examining the dates, the surfaces, the lettering, and the overall condition. That simple habit has introduced countless people to the fascinating world of coin collecting. And remember, every famous discovery began exactly the same way. Someone looked when everyone else ignored it. Someone asked one extra question. Someone decided that one ordinary penny deserved another glance. Perhaps your own 1991 Lincoln cent has an interesting story waiting to be uncovered. Perhaps it is simply another well-traveled coin that has faithfully served its purpose for decades. Or perhaps it carries one of those rare characteristics collectors spend years searching to find. You will never know unless you take that closer look. Because history has a remarkable habit of hiding extraordinary possibilities inside the most ordinary objects. The next life-changing discovery will almost certainly look completely ordinary at first. And if that discovery is already sitting in your pocket, your coin jar, or an old family collection, today might be the day you finally notice it before someone else does. Have you ever tossed a handful of pennies into a jar without looking twice? What if one of those ordinary-looking coins could completely change the course of your financial future? It sounds impossible, yet stories of everyday people discovering incredibly valuable coins continue to capture the imagination of collectors across America. Today, we're taking a closer look at the mysterious 1993 Lincoln cent without a mint mark, a coin that has inspired countless treasure hunters to search through pocket change, old coffee cans, dresser drawers, and forgotten piggy banks. But before you start dreaming about instant wealth, there's one surprising twist you'll want to hear because the truth is even more fascinating than the rumors. Most Americans have handled a 1993 Lincoln penny at some point. Millions were struck for everyday commerce, and the majority remain worth exactly 1 cent. That simple fact causes most people to overlook them completely. But experienced collectors know something beginners often miss. Sometimes the value isn't determined by the date alone. It's determined by tiny details that almost nobody notices. Imagine finding an old penny while cleaning out your grandparents' attic. It looks ordinary. You almost toss it into the coin jar. Then curiosity takes over. You grab a magnifying glass. Suddenly, the smallest details begin telling a completely different story. That moment of discovery is exactly what keeps collectors searching year after year. Now here's something worth thinking about. When was the last time you actually looked closely at a penny before spending it? If your answer is never, you're certainly not alone. That's exactly why unusual coins continue slipping through everyday transactions unnoticed. The 1993 Lincoln cent without a mint mark was produced for circulation from the Philadelphia Mint. During that era, Philadelphia cents normally carried no mint mark, so the absence of a mint mark by itself does not make the coin rare. The real excitement begins when collectors encounter coins with unusual characteristics created during the minting process or coins preserved in exceptional condition. That raises an even bigger question. If millions were made, how can one become extraordinarily valuable? The answer lies in rarity created by circumstance rather than mintage alone. A dramatic striking error, an exceptionally preserved example with blazing original luster, or a combination of unusual features can transform an ordinary-looking cent into something collectors eagerly compete for. These are the coins that ignite bidding wars and become legends within the numismatic community. Think about that for a moment. 2 pennies can share the same date, the same design, and the same appearance from a distance, yet one may be worth a single cent while another attracts extraordinary attention because of characteristics visible only under careful examination. And here's where the story becomes even more interesting. Collectors inspect every part of the coin. They examine Lincoln's portrait for unusually sharp detail. They study the lettering around the rim. They inspect the date, the reverse design, and the condition of the surfaces under proper lighting. Tiny differences invisible to casual observers often become the deciding factor between ordinary and remarkable. You might even laugh at how obsessive collectors can seem. Imagine someone staring at a penny longer than most people spend choosing a new car. It sounds funny until you realize that careful inspection has uncovered genuine numismatic treasures in the past. But don't stop listening yet, because there's another piece of the puzzle. Condition plays an enormous role in value. Coins that escaped heavy circulation often retain brilliant surfaces, crisp details, and original mint luster. Professional grading services evaluate these characteristics with extraordinary precision. Even a slight improvement in preservation can dramatically influence collector demand. Now imagine 2 identical pennies discovered on the same day. One spent decades bouncing through cash registers. The other rested untouched inside an old coin collection. Which one would serious collectors pursue? The answer is obvious, and it explains why preservation matters just as much as rarity. Here's where excitement often overtakes common sense. Stories circulate online claiming that any 1993 no-mint mark penny is worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. Those headlines spread quickly because everyone loves the possibility of hidden treasure. But experienced collectors understand that extraordinary prices are associated with exceptionally rare circumstances, such as remarkable mint errors, unique varieties, or elite condition examples that have been professionally authenticated. Most 1993 Philadelphia cents remain common circulation coins. That doesn't mean your search is pointless. Far from it. Every collection begins with a single coin. Every remarkable discovery starts with someone willing to look more carefully than everyone else. The excitement isn't just about finding value. It's about developing the knowledge to recognize something special when it appears. So what should you actually examine? Look for coins with unusually strong strikes, attractive original color, minimal wear, and any unusual features that appear different from normal examples. Compare your coin carefully with verified reference images. Handle it gently by the edges. Avoid cleaning it because cleaning can significantly reduce collector appeal. If you believe you've discovered an unusual example, consider having it evaluated by a respected professional grading service before making assumptions about its value. Now picture this. A small box of forgotten coins sits untouched in the back of a closet for decades. Family members walk past it thousands of times without opening it. One afternoon, curiosity wins. Inside are ordinary nickels, dimes, quarters, and dozens of pennies. Most are worth face value. But hidden among them could be something that tells a remarkable story about American coinage and rewards careful observation. That's the real lesson. Knowledge creates opportunity. People who educate themselves about coins don't rely on luck alone. They recognize details others ignore. They ask better questions. They slow down when everyone else rushes. In a world moving faster every day, that simple habit can make an incredible difference. So before you spend another penny without looking, ask yourself one question. What if this is the coin everyone else overlooked? Perhaps it won't be. Perhaps it will simply become another cent in circulation. But perhaps it will spark a lifelong fascination with history, craftsmanship, and the thrill of discovery. Sometimes the greatest treasure isn't a life-changing payday. Sometimes it's learning to recognize value where everyone else sees only something ordinary. The next penny that lands in your hand may not rewrite your financial future overnight, but it could begin a journey that changes the way you see every coin forever. And for countless collectors across America, that journey started with a single Lincoln cent that looked just like all the rest, until they looked one more time.